Well, I think, Brian, we should probably get started so we can get
Yep,
everyone off in a timely fashion. I'll keep letting people in if you want to kind of give us a little kickoff.
that'd be
And
great. And why don't you hit the record if we're not recording already,
guess what?
Jody?
We're already recording.
Oh,
Oh
look at that.
no.
Awesome. Well, we want to thank everybody. We know we're all busy. We have Zooms every single day, it seems, and just appreciate. And as I said in my comments, this is a dream team. We have uh, we have to be able to grow CA1. And there's so many different ways to be able to do it by retention and reorganizing our clubs and asking new members but we have lost the knack on how to start up new clubs. And we absolutely have to get back to that. We have a goal this year of 288 new clubs. And we hit over 200, barely over 200, four times in the last 30 years. So we have to teach on how we have to do this again. And I'm telling you, when we had the growth summits going on at the beginning part of the year, people are fired up. But again, they just don't know how to do it. So that's why we got this team together. We have the best facilitators here. We have the best people. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much on behalf, personally, from myself, on behalf of the GAT team, on behalf of LCI, on behalf of Jody, Tracy, everybody, that this is something that is so desperately needed, and the follow up, and we greatly appreciate it. I think this is going to be a wonderful thing that we'll continue to do, and this is going to get us over the top, and it's going to get us positive in CA1 for the first time in 43 years. So this is an exciting opportunity. You're going to help make history. Just want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts to each and every one of you. And with that, let's turn it over to Jody. And I gotta get in here too. Jody, not only thank you for moving from Minnesota, but thank you so much for being able to help out with this, and Tracy Gray as well. You guys are absolutely awesome, and that's a fact, Jack, and that's reality. So thank you so much. Jody, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for popping over from the other call and coming and hanging out with us for a while too. And
There's quite a few
don't
people
sell.
on here that were in the other one.
Oh yeah, don't sell yourself short. You've been quite active and involved in this as well, and we'll talk more about that. But Brian is also going to continue to be very active and involved with this, along with Tracy and I, which we'll talk more about here in a few minutes. So we'll bring the head penguin back in a little bit, but let's just kind of get into it. So tonight is really free form. We want to get you up to date, explain what we're doing, give you the insight on our thought process, show you some resources, and give you some time to work together as teams to start pulling together what you need to do to hit the ground running in just over a month from now as we get out and start rolling these workshops out again. I'm going to share my screen. I'll be sharing it for a while. So if there's questions, either drop them in the chat. You guys can mute and unmute tonight, which our people will not have that opportunity when we're on our trainings, but you all have that opportunity. So if you have questions, we want you to leave here feeling very comfortable with what we're doing and have as many, if not all your questions answered as possible. So we truly are, as a group, getting ready to change Lions. Lions not only here in the US, but we've had a lot of interest from other constitutional areas to take this program as we see it rolling out and working and adapt it locally for them also to be able to apply these concepts to grow Lions in their area. So tonight we're going to do this. We're going to go through the welcome, which Brian just did. We're going to go through the workshop itself. I know some of you have seen this, some of you have seen it online, some of you have been part of the workshops we put on already, so you may be familiar with it, but we want to make sure you see what's going on and get an update on what the status is and the results of the workshop so far. We're going to go through your job descriptions. What you're going to be doing as individual facilitators and mentors with your multiple districts, and then how you may work as a team to put on the workshop series itself. We'll then go through your resources. We'll talk about the to-do list, so to speak, in your timeline. And then at the end of the session, we're going to give you time to work with your team members, your facilitating team members, to start some of the planning that needs to be done. Talk about fire-up meetings, how you want to handle those, other items as far as curriculum, etc. So that is our schedule for this evening. And we will get you out of here as quickly as we can, but we want to, again, make sure we answer all of your questions. Starting up, let's talk about just a quick overview of what this growth workshop series looks like. And it's fairly simple concept. There's we're inviting all the district growth teams to come in, and district growth teams are everyone from the district governor team through the GAT teams, GAT coordinators and their team members to Guiding Lions, to any number of other people who are interested in helping grow Lions. So we bring them in to teach them how to start clubs and grow existing clubs over a 6-week period. During this 6 weeks, there are 3 sessions. They're about 120 minutes, a little longer than that, especially one of the sessions that are held every other week over 6 weeks. You are the trained facilitators. You are the best of the best in this constitutional area. And again, we're so excited to have you with us and as part of this team. At the end of the first 2 sessions, and we say each session, I'll tell you why that is later, but at the end of the first 2 sessions, the district growth teams have an assignment that ties to the curriculum that you just shared with them that helps them apply it to start a new club. So the goal being, once they get through all of this, as I said before, they will be close to starting a new club or starting a new club by the time we get done with this 6-week workshop. We allow each one of the district teams planning time at the end of each session. So we give them anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes to talk about what the assignment is and then make a plan to how they're going to get that assignment completed before the next workshop. Any questions on that? And Brian or Tracy or anyone, if you want to, Brian or Tracy, if you want to field the questions from the chat for me, or we'll come out or just go ahead and open up. And if there's any questions from anyone, that feel free to ask them at will.
You mentioned that the goal is that they may already be on the way to forming new clubs by the end of the workshop. For the MDs that have already completed this, what percentage would you say have met that goal?
I can't see you, but I believe that's a Stephanie question, and it
Sorry,
sounds like
Jesse
Stephanie.
Tracer. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm going to show you a slide with the results here in just a few minutes. That's part of session 1 for you to be able to share as well. So we'll get to that in just a moment. So one more slide and then that one will be coming up. Okay. Cool. All right. You guys got this. This slide came out of the email I sent you last Friday, was one of the resource materials. And this really lays out the 3 sessions and what the content is in each of the sessions. And it goes through it. Session 1 is really focused on laying the groundwork, if you will, getting to know your product. So we're on a mission to grow. What are our targets? Each of the sessions as you present them is customized to talk about what the target is in the areas you're presenting to. We then talk about why we aren't starting clubs. We talk about what it takes to get ready to grow. We share resources with them. We talk through club types. We go through the steps to start a club, and then we use inspiration. And in this session, because we're focusing on helping them build out their teams, the inspiration is really about your district growth team being the key to your success as a district and growth. Then we move on 2 weeks later, and we have the session that's really focused on marketing, promotion, and what type of recruitment models are out there. We focus on 2 of them. So we start with talking about promoting the new club. We talk about how you invite a new generation to join our association. We share recruitment models, both the traditional needs-based model, and then the other one, a newer way to look at it, with asset-based community development model. The inspiration there is really recruiting tips and tricks from some of our top constitutional area 1 recruiters. Those are provided via videos, 5-minute video inspiration segments, and then you will lead a panel discussion with you and your facilitating team to answer questions about recruiting and how to recruit a new generation. 2 weeks later, we go into session 3, which is the formation meeting. We talk through the application process. Brian mentioned earlier, so many of our areas and districts have not started clubs in decades. Even if you haven't started a new club in the last since 2 years ago, the process has changed slightly because of the new system. So we walk through what the application process is, share some resources with them on that. We talk about supporting, protecting, and connecting the new club that you're building. And then we really dig into some inspiration. Depending on how much time you have left, based on the questions that came up earlier in the session, you'll either share 3 or 4 inspirational videos. One is about how to use social media to jumpstart a new club. Other options are on urban clubs, starting clubs in urban areas, starting clubs in rural areas, and then some additional recruiting tips to kind of wrap it all together. A key piece of this workshop when we were designing this was we don't want this to be a one and done. We're going to train how many lions, but it's such a small percentage. So we worked really hard to create these inspirational segments in most of them are 5 minutes, maybe the most is 7 minutes. So that, and we're putting them out there on a YouTube channel, the Lions of the US Lions Rock YouTube channel, that allows us to go out and share it out and use it for resources at zone meetings, at district cabinet meetings, wherever you need to do it, at a club level to inspire them how to start invite members, whatever it might be. So you'll be sharing that information as you go along as well. Questions right now on the sessions before we talk about the results to date?
Jody, you're going to talk about how the teams split up presenting each of the sessions, right? Like
Right. We're gonna, that's
okay.
under, yep, part of the roles with, we talk about your individual roles and your team roles. So that's coming up in a couple more slides.
Okay. And then my earlier question was, the district growth teams are already formed, correct?
Some are and some aren't. It depends on the districts and the multiples you're working with.
And we want
Well,
as many people that can come to these, even, they may not be on the growth team or they may not be part of GAT, but they're good at starting up clubs. Anybody who has an interest in starting up clubs, that's who we want.
And
I
then
will,
Given that, given what Brian just said, how do we get more Lions to attend? I've seen the numbers for a couple of them, and it's just a handful of people. It's not the big numbers we're looking for the whole team.
part of that you guys have some fabulous questions. That's coming up later in the program when we talk about where your roles are with working with multiple district coordinators. Just to give a front end on that particular piece. To date, the GAT area leaders have been promoting this workshop series. This is going to start changing. They'll continue to promote, but your work with the multiple district GAT team is what's really going to prompt more participation. At least that's what we've seen in the past. So we'll talk a little bit more about that under the planning meeting agenda part when we get to that in a little bit here. Cool. All right, let me share with you the success we've seen so far. And this is as of November 25th. So we've gone through 7 multiple districts. We started last November. We did a face-to-face session with Texas, with their full GAT teams and all their councils. We then went to California in March and April and did a 8-week virtual session. And then September, October saw us doing a variation on this 3-session workshop in 5 multiple districts. Since that time of each of them ending their workshops, we have seen 55 new clubs started in these multiples, 9 branch clubs, and 1,650 plus new members coming out of these multiple districts that went through the workshop. We know that 1,650 is a larger number because it doesn't account for the branch club members that have joined the association as well through this process. And we had 17 pending clubs as of November 25th. So we're seeing results. We're seeing fired up Lions coming out of this and working to start new clubs. And they really are the key. Our job is to light the fire, as you'll see in Brian's entrance videos, and you may have heard him do this already, but it's really to light the spark, light the fire under these Lions to get fired up to start Lionism and build Lionism and build this culture of growth across the entire constitutional area. So our initial results are good, but I'm not really super good with math, but 55 plus 17 is not 288 clubs. So we have more work to do. And if you project this out, I think we might hit that number and beyond if we can get all of our multiples fired up and get teams out there working to start clubs across all of their areas. So here we go. Questions on the success rates we've got so far. This slide is also part of session 1, and it's also part of the Fire Up session curriculum that you'll be presenting to your areas in the next few weeks.
This is Jessie again, just a quick question. So it says 7 multiple districts. Do you know how many individual districts there were total? I'm just curious about the average of how many clubs per district roughly.
We have that, but I don't have that in front of me. I don't know if Brian or Tracy can dig that out, but I can't, I don't have that off the top of my head.
I can try to dig it up. Give me a couple minutes.
Thank you, Tracy. Anything else before we go on to the kind of more of your role and roles and responsibilities? Because that really is kind of in a nutshell what the workshops are all about and the overview that we had for you for today. Hearing none, I will keep going. So this is the support chart that I created for you all to be able to better understand how we work together and who's working with these district growth teams to support them through this process. I added on the flyer I sent you, it didn't have the facilitator mentor tech block on there. I added that to this slide for tonight because I know there's a lot of questions from you all about what your facilitator, what Brian and I and Tracy will be doing to support you from a tech standpoint during these workshops. We will be handling the tech for you. We'll be sharing slides. We'll be spotlighting each of you. We'll be handling the breakout rooms. We'll be dropping files into the chat for you so that people can, so you can focus on actually facilitating and working with the attendees to answer their questions and present the material.
So we're just the eye candy? Is that what I heard?
Of course.
Thank you.
Now you got it.
You guys are really good at that. So we figured we'd put you in a job you could be very successful at. Because it's not, as a person who, and a couple of you were on the early calls in September, I was trying to run tech and do the facilitating, and I'm pretty experienced at it, and it was too much. And it did not present well for the attendees to get it was just a distraction to the attendees as opposed to enhancing them and allowing them to learn. So we got you covered. And we will have a planning meeting with all of us together beforehand with your facilitating team and with either Brian or I and possibly Tracy as to whoever your mentor tech person is, just to make sure we're all smooth and running on all cylinders and hit the ground running in early January. So these teams are basically all here to support the district growth teams. I'm going to stop sharing this screen and switch to a different screen to share with you to go through basically the PDF I sent you earlier. This slide or this screen should look pretty familiar. This is just the top part of the PDF I sent you with the overview of what the roles and responsibility are for the facilitators. And you'll note that we have here that you are directly working with the growth teams. You're directly working with the MD GAT teams. And beyond that, you are working somewhat with the GAT area and vice area leaders, but they're not your primary focus. Your primary focus is this MD GAT team and the primary contact there, and then also supporting the district growth teams as you work through the series. This is broken out in two roles. Basically, the support and mentor role is your individual role. And that role is really focused on supporting the MD and the district GAT teams to set them up for success. What we know is this: in the workshops we've done so far, the majority of the work that was put in from the facilitator role was in this support and mentor position. These districts and these multiple districts or single district that you're working with, GAT teams likely have not had a lot of experience in starting clubs. They're not sure what you're asking. They need support and understanding how to work, get people fired up, all the different pieces that go into promoting what's going on and getting more people to attend. So you have each been assigned to specific multiple districts / single districts that you're supporting. And you will work with them their contact directly to answer their questions, find out what they need and go through it. And that's going to start with Brian, who sent out, and you all were CC'd on those emails to every one of the GAT leaders and the council chairs in those multiple districts you will be supporting. Your job, now that they've been informed of who you are, is to reach out to those GAT teams. Reach out by individual multiple district to organize and conduct what we're calling a planning meeting. That planning meeting allows you to explain the workshop, define their roles and your roles and the rest of the people that will be supporting them, and then discuss an attendee recruitment plan. We have an agenda that's set up for you for this that you can adapt that will allow you to at least get a start on what you need to ask them. You're all experienced, you've all been around the block when it comes to working with teams before and introductory meetings and organizational meetings. So you'll obviously play off of what you're hearing from them and get the answers you need to make sure they're set up for success, and then provide them with the tools that they will need to recruit people to attend both a fire up meeting, which we'll talk about here in a minute, and also get them registered for the workshops. Part of the goal also is to set up a date for what we call the fire up meeting. The fire up meeting basically is a short overview of what the workshop is about, what the benefits are to attending the workshop, and the target audience for that is really those district growth teams, specifically the governor team and the GAT team, and anyone else you can get from the districts to be there, because they're the ones that will help recruit people from the district level to come in and join the workshops and be part of it. We have curriculum provided. We've presented, I think, about a dozen of these in the last 3 or 4 months. So it's pretty well refined at this point. And as with all the curriculum, the script is not necessarily in the words you would use, but the content is there. So you'll want to make it your own so that you aren't just reading from the script. And you'll see that in both the fire up session and the planning meeting session. Folder items we're going to look at under your resources in a few minutes. I do have an extra note here about the planning meeting. So because we're in such a tight time window, we're recommending that you as a GAT area facilitating team hold one fire up meeting. That fire up meeting would invite all of the people from your GAT area to come and get fired up about getting involved in these workshops. You can choose, if you would like, to break it out and do individual multiple district or single district fire up meetings, but it might be hard to get them all scheduled in the time available in the next couple of weeks here. So it's up to you as a facilitating team to figure out if you want to do a area-wide fire up meeting, and if you would like to do an area-wide fire up meeting, picking a date for it and getting all the materials in place for it. A little bit more on the fire up meetings in a moment here. And the last role here, the last item here is really important. And I learned this firsthand through these prototype, the workshops we did, and maintaining regular communication and checking in with whoever the primary GAT contact is in each of these multiples / single districts is really important. This is one of those things where they'll be high as a kite one moment, and then they've been knocked down to the lowest depths the next by something someone said. So just reaching out to them saying, hey, how's it going? Checking in, making sure that they're comfortable reaching out to you with any questions is really important. It's for those of you who have been group leaders, the feel is very similar to being a group leader and how you feel with working with the vice district governors and district governor elects. It's a very similar concept and a very similar feel. And they are still reaching out. They continue to reach out just like they do when you train the DGEs. And it's really cool to see them grow as they go through the process as well. So that is your role as an individual facilitator / mentor on to the districts and multiple districts single districts and multiple districts you've been assigned. But then there's the part where you're working as a team, and that's really on facilitating the workshops themselves. Excuse me. You'll be working as a facilitating team to present the curriculum for all 3 sessions. It is up to you as a team to decide how you want to break up the curriculum as far as who's training what. So in some of our, we've got some groups that are only two facilitators on the team. We've got some with as many as 5. You will work as a team to decide who's going to facilitate, what curriculum they're going to present, and whoever's not presenting will then be working in the chat, answering questions, and carrying on the conversation and getting people to talk in the chat and get as much information as possible shared as you can. You as a team, as I said, are going to create the plan to determine who's going to present which sessions and who's going to monitor the chat. And then optionally, you can update the script to fit your personal style. We touched on that a little bit ago. And then we will set up a production meeting with you. Either Brian or I is going to set up a production meeting with you sometime in late December or early January, prior to that first session, to walk through the plan with you and your entire team on how the tech works. We'll do some testing with you so you have a chance to see how it works and all of the pieces that go along with that. And as I've said, your support team is really Brian and I, and then Tracy as well. We're here to provide your tech support and be your sounding board, respond to your questions, support you in whatever you're seeing as you work through these workshops. And then Tracy is always here for us. She will be standing in for either Brian or I as tech at some of the sessions because of scheduling conflicts. And she is always here to help and incredibly supportive when it comes to answering questions. She's in charge of, and Tracy, tell me how many, they keep changing it, but you keep adding more. So I'm not even sure all the roles you're carrying right now.
Well, right now, the most significant one that you all should know about is I am in charge of new club development grants, new voices grants, and specialty club workshop grants. So as you're talking to the Lions in your training, use my email, give it out. Encourage them to do new voices, encourage them to do membership grants, and encourage them to do specialty club grants. I'm on my computer, unfortunately, 24/7 usually. So I'm more than happy to help out with any of those.
Thank you, Tracy. You're always awesome. I'm not going to take the time right now to go through the rest of the team. Well, what I will do is talk about what the GAT team's role is, the multiple district GAT team. And then I also let you know that I just created this afternoon, as I was going through this for the umpteenth time, I realized that sharing a district or a multiple district GAT team centric piece would be a good idea so that their roles and responsibilities are front and center that you can use as you're going through the planning meeting with them. So we'll look at that just here in a few minutes. But the rest of the support team, the multiple district GAT works with the facilitators to define the local needs. They then drive the process, and I mean drive the process. They're making phone calls, they're sending emails, they're following up when things don't show up on time, or if there's people not attending that they expect to be there. They are the long-term and ongoing support for those district growth teams. They're the locals. They're the ones they're going to reach out to first. They're also the person or people that are going to receive these assignments in between each session. And they'll be the ones to follow up and make sure that if the assignment isn't in, follow up with whoever that point person is and say where it is. And then they also keep the districts focused on reaching their goals. Every one of our districts has a goal of at least one new club, and these MD GAT coordinators are well aware of that and really want to see them reach their goals and should be working towards that. GAT area and vice area leaders, these mentors are outside of the GAT system in general. They are just experienced Lions and recruiters from inside these multiple districts and from outside that have volunteered to help support this process and everyone going through it. I'm seeing things pop up on my screen, so I'm guessing there's questions. Anyone? Catch me
one
up?
of them, Jody. Liz had asked, how long do we mentor these groups? And my answer was, your primary mentorship and focus is to fire these people up, get them to the sessions, do the sessions, making sure they're doing their assignments in the sessions and what they're doing. Make sure you make it interactive, but keep in mind you have the GAT area leaders and the vice leaders that are out there that are going to do the pushing, the driving, the follow up, and all of that. The other comment that I said is, if if things go good, I think it would be great towards the end of the Lionistic year, maybe in April, end of April, maybe May, maybe we'd have another session with your groups. How are you guys doing? How can we make this better? What else do you want besides this? Do we do another one? Like, do we follow up with these new clubs? Or we're looking for ideas from them, input from them, how we continue to make this good and how we continue to make it grow.
Excellent, Brian. I would add to that that, it's similar to, as I think I mentioned earlier, if you've been a group leader for district governor-elect school, you are their mentor for life. You don't have any official role after we get through these February, basically, but you've now got a connection for life. They look to you, they trust you. You'll get calls and emails asking questions, just like we do from people we've trained in with and facilitated other sessions for. So beyond this, you're off the hook until we call on you again.
Which is all the time.
Exactly. Shh, don't tell them that. We're not that far yet, Brian.
Keep good people busy.
Perfect. So you guys, I see there's some problems with opening the contact list. That is a Google Sheet, and I shared it as a Google Sheet because in case we update it. But I will send it. I will put it in the folder also as an Excel spreadsheet.
I don't know if you can, this is Jesse. I don't know if you can send it as a link because I have a Google Sheets like account and it's even on my laptop wouldn't open it. And I've never seen a .g sheets before. So I wonder if you sent the link, if that would work.
Because I gave you access directly to the file itself.
Yeah, I know it's showing up in a weird format.
Okay, Jesse, let me, it looks like Jenny is probably having a different problem, I'm gonna guess, than you are, because she's probably not as Google Sheets. But Jesse, let me contact send as a link.
Jody, I was having trouble getting it open too.
Who's that?
I did too, Jody. Mark.
Okay, so I will change it just an Excel spreadsheet, and we'll leave it in there as an Excel spreadsheet. Thank you for that input. I'm making notes so I can actually follow up on it because I can't remember anything and if it's not written down anymore. Excellent. Anything else so far on what we've talked about? If not,
just
go ahead.
quick, and I don't know if this is gonna help, but in the Google folder under the facilitator resources, it seems to work.
You're talking about the link from the email. Is that okay? So let's clarify. Thank you, Rob. So Jesse, are you talking about the link from the email? Did you go into the facilitator folder?
I've been in the facilitator folder and I don't see, and I might just be looking in the wrong spot, but I didn't see the growth workshop contact sheet in the facilitator folder. I might just be looking in the wrong place though.
It is under facilitator resources. The subfolder is facilitator resources, and it's growth workshop team contacts in all caps.
Never mind. I found it now. Thank you.
Cool. Well, we're going to go through, you know what? What a great question. You know what? That's the next thing we're going through. So I want to make sure you guys know what's there right now and what's coming. And it's coming to those folders soon. So you can find things so you don't have to dig around and poke around as much. Other questions on the role itself? If not, and we'll come back at the end of this for more questions. So you don't have just one opportunity. And obviously, we're always here 24/7, just like Tracy, waiting for your calls to be able to sell you something more, or get you to do more projects for us. So hold on a second. Let's share that Google Drive folder. So I again want to mention, if you are not able to make Google Drive work for you, or you're having troubles accessing any of what we're talking about right now, which was the link called resources off. Oops, I think I'm sharing the wrong screen. Yep, I certainly am. Thanks, Jody, you're welcome. It was part of what you're going to look at, just not in the right format. I did it again. Damn, I'm good tonight. All right, let's try it. Third time is a charm. Yay. All right, here we go. So if you're having problems accessing this or are not familiar with sharing files in the cloud, I'm really happy to help walk you through this. And if we can't get you there, we'll get it to you in a different format because we want to make sure you're comfortable and able to access this materials. We chose to share it through the drive because as we update things, and everyone has access to the most recent materials in the same spot. But if it's not working for you, it's not working for us. And we want to make sure you can access it. So right now, and I don't think this is going to change a lot, we have 3 different main folders for you in this, the top level of the facilitator folder. The first is this facilitator resources. And this is really for you all. This is the materials to support you that we're creating that will help you better do your job and be successful. The files, the slides from tonight are actually here under facilitator training. I've got it in here as a PDF of the slides and then individual graphics of each of the slides that if you want them to be able to share or use that are available for you. Right now, they're just as what's called a PNG. If you need a JPEG or a different format, just email me and let me know. You'll start to see there's going to be some consistency in how these are laid out as we move through this. So in here also, you'll find the facilitator assignments. And I don't think this is, never mind. I'll update that because there's something not quite right there. I put it in the wrong spot. The facilitator job description PDF that we just were going over is here. Here it comes. All of the materials that really are here to support you, along with the growth workshop team contacts. And you're broken out alphabetical order by team. And then the session overview PNG that we just looked at on the slides themselves in the presentation. So that's what is in the facilitator resources right now. Oops, I think I got a little click happy there, pardon me. So here are the virtual backgrounds, the ones that we have behind us right now. The Lions of the US is now Lions USA. Brian, is that correct? Lions USA. And there's some new graphics coming out, and we haven't discussed if we're going to change these graphics again or not at this point. But for now, whatever the most recent is will always be here under virtual backgrounds for you. Session materials. You'll note it's a little sparse because it's missing the curriculum for the 3 sessions. I need you to bear with me a little bit longer till this coming Monday. By end of day Monday, I'm going to have the curriculum all written. I'll have actual script in all of them for you and all updated based on all the comments and changes that we learned of during our trainings in September, October. So here's what you'll see here. And this is where you really start to see that there's a system, if you will. So the facilitator planning meeting, we just talked about a little bit. This is a meeting that you guys are going to reach out to your individual, multiple district, single district contacts as soon as possible to get set up. In this folder, you're going to find there's the workshop flyers for all of the areas are here, along with the slide promoting that workshop. You're going to share the appropriate one with the group you're meeting with during that planning session. Here also, there is an invite. This is an invite that we adapted. Multiple District 20, Michelle O'Hara is an amazing human. She wrote this workshop, an invite for her multiple district teams to send out that we shortened and adapted to make it more generic. That is here for you to share with those GAT team people in the multiple districts / single districts and adapt however you want. And then it talks about attaching both the workshop flyer and the workshop slide. In here also is your planning meeting agenda we referred to. Again, this is adaptable for each of you to use. Who's invited? The facilitator mentor, i.e. you guys. Council chair, the multiple district GET, multiple district GMT are the primaries. You may end up with a GST or a GLT because they may be the actual really active members of that team. But those are the primaries you're looking for. Goes through an introduction, gives the workshop overview. Just so you all are aware, every Friday, I will be sending an email out to every registrant with the recording for their session, along with slides, session links, and an evaluation link for them to be able to complete to provide feedback for us so we get fresh feedback from them. They'll then go into, you'll talk about the different roles, who's doing what. I'll show you the file I just created, a folder or document I just created to help guide you through that. You then will talk about recruitment, who's doing what, how are you going to get people butts and seats, as we say. And then questions and next steps. I added in one for all of you because you're going to send a follow-up email afterwards to your contacts, recapping the plan and providing the GAT role PDF, sample fire-up meeting invite email, and growth workshop flyer. So you'll have all of that there for you to be able to do. And the last piece I've got for you on that is I did create, oh God, I don't know how this is going to work and doing it through here. This is an adventure for all of us today. All right, here we go. It actually worked. So I took the same graphic you had seen before on your flyer, but I redesigned it or removed it around to focus on the overall, not in a lower level of what you're doing, not the full details. So it starts focusing on what the multiple district GAT team is. So who's on that GAT team and what their roles are. Your role as facilitator is really the mentor role, and a little bit of you're going to be facilitating the workshops. And then you'll talk through what the GAT area and vice area leaders do and what the mentors are there for. This is designed specifically for you to use with those GAT teams, and they can share it out with the district growth teams, quite honestly, because it shows them who's supporting who and what you're doing. Questions on what's in this facilitator planning meeting? Is the facilitator planning meeting feel like you are confident that you'll be able to walk in and work with your multiple district and sub-district or single district teams and run a planning meeting? I'm seeing some nodding heads. I'm not seeing any
I
no's.
I don't have full confidence yet, but I'll get there.
If you have questions, please don't. And thank you for being honest, Glenn. And I'm not saying that the rest of you aren't being honest, by the way, but if you have questions as you're going through it or need something more, just want to talk through some things, you can reach out to either Brian or I or Tracy, and we're happy to help you out with that.
I
How
just
are the
gotta write down,
contact?
I just need to write down a timeline, so I've got everything kind of straight in my head. Sorry, cut you off.
No worries. I heard another question.
Yeah, Hillary here. How are we going to get the multiple district contacts will that be given to us by, for instance, a GAT area leader, or where
They
will
will-
those contacts come from?
Great question, Hillary. They were actually on the email Brian sent to you. Everyone's email addresses and names were inside of that.
But they're not identified in their roles.
They're not identified by MD either. So if we've got, like, I've got 2 MDs. So if I'm wanting to reach out to one specific one, I'm not sure who to reach out.
Great questions. Between Brian, Tracy, and I, we will get you a spreadsheet with the contacts in your multiples.
Thank you.
Yep. I'll separate those tomorrow, Jody, for each facilitator, and then send a facilitator a spreadsheet what their titles were, phone numbers, and email addresses.
Terrific.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Great question.
So Jody,
I'm listening. Yep. My
so
headset is not mine.
I'm-
It's just falling off my head. Sorry, what?
I guess I'm feeling a little lost. I kind of understand things, but I think for me, and I think that's what Brian was just talking about is, having all the contacts and their titles and who's leading, what are we, again, in my role, I'm coming into this a little bit late, but mentor, facilitator. Can you define that? Plus also, when Brian sent out his email yesterday, and I sent out an email this morning to the group, and I got a response back that some of them have already gone through the training. So I'm thinking, okay.
Right.
So, and then the last question is, how do we do all this? Have a fire-up meeting, organize all this with the holidays, and then right after the first year, we're jumping into the training. I guess I'm a little lost about where everybody's at and how do we get this done so that we really get people there ready to roll.
So let me see. I think I caught the questions and I wrote them down, but you'll let me know what I missed. So first off, the contacts and how this works. We don't know which in each multiple district or single district who's going to take that lead role. We've seen it be a GET, we've seen it be a council chair, we've seen it at GMT. It just depends on the go-getter and who takes it on in each multiple district. So the initial contact, the way it's worked in these prototype groups or the early groups was an email to every one of them. We have an email address for asking for a meeting, setting a date, and then figuring out on that call who's going to be the primary contact and who's going to drive the process as the primary driver for that single district or multiple district that you're assigned to. Does that help?
Well, I guess, I think the thing is, because I have 3 multiples. So how do we know if we're dealing with the multiple itself or individual districts within the multiple? How does that
You're
work?
not dealing with the individual districts. The only reason
Okay.
I keep saying single districts is because there are some just single districts
Okay, so
out
you're
there.
talking about a single district itself. So for example, like
Right.
Montana,
Well,
okay,
yeah,
or
exactly.
Nevada. Okay,
Exactly.
all right. So I guess the thing too, though, is each of these multiples, and maybe I'm a bit naive on this, but it feels like to me that each multiple has its own internal politics, right?
Of
I
course
know
they
there's no
do.
politics in
Wait.
Lions.
Hold
So
on. There's no politics in Lions,
I
Mark.
know
What
there's
are you
no
talking
politics in
about?
Lions. So how do we do this so that we don't, we don't rush right in there and all of a sudden, hey, we inadvertently step on everybody's toes. Any advice or wisdom for that?
It's basically you're when you have that planning meeting, at least what we've seen so far, and we were in the largest multiples we've got, okay? What we've seen so far is that the council chair sits in on that first call and usually backs off and doesn't have anything else to do with it the rest of the time. There's only one multiple that had a council chair that stayed actively involved throughout the process. So far. Now, that's not to say that there's not there that's going to be the norm in every district. Or multiple district, it just depends. So we're staying out of politics. We set the expectations in that planning meeting based on what they're telling us as to who the contact is. And that contact then is responsible for sharing out whatever the information needs to be shared out with both the rest of their multiple district GAT team and with their sub-district teams, growth teams that are being put together. Does that help?
I think so.
So
So
let
when you said planning,
let them decide who's going to control this and who's going to reach out to the districts to get everybody coming to
Yeah.
to these meetings. So
okay,
they'll
so
decide that, but make sure they understand and we all know who and how are they going to reach out to the districts. I'm going to
okay.
give you the contacts for the GAT people for the multiple. And then when you have the meeting with them, the planning meeting, then let them decide how are you guys going to get as many people to these sessions as you're going to get from your multiple.
Okay, when you say planning meeting, and Jody, you said planning meeting, you're talking about the fire up meeting.
No, there's 2 things there. There's a
We
planning
have
meeting.
a planning meeting and a fire up meeting before we start the training.
Correct.
Oh, wow. And a little thing called Christmas in the middle of that.
Well, and
I don't want to be a
there's
naysayer, but I think, how do we answer that question about?
So let me
how
go
do
through them in
people-
order. Let me go through them in the order you answered them so I don't miss them, okay?
Okay,
Because it's been a long week. So let's talk about, there are 7 multiples that have gone through the training already, okay? But just like we said earlier, there's a lot of people that did not necessarily participate. Now, there's one multiple, which is California, MD4, that's gone through it twice in less than a year right now. So there will be lower turnout from those multiples, but we're hoping that the people that went through it, the ones that were fired up, are back out there again right now saying, you need to get your butts to this session because we learned so much here.
Okay.
So Mark, you in particular are unique of all the facilitators because you actually have all 3 of the multiples you're supporting were part of this last round in September, October. You were the only facilitator that has that going on. And we did that because we knew that you have this little thing called the USA Canada Forum that hits real heavy starting in January, February for you. So we were hoping to lighten your load as far as having that much work with these mentoring these teams that have already been through it. It should be a little bit lighter load with mentoring them because they've been around the block.
Okay.
Okay, so the next thing is the timing concern. Mark, welcome to the world of working with former executive officers, I'll call them, because I don't think he's a current executive officer. Because I didn't think we were rolling any of this out till January, February, and that was only going to be five multiple districts, and so it's been a little crazy. But I will say this: what I learned from this, because there was some pushback from. I gave quite a bit of pushback actually on timing because I didn't think it was realistic. But what we learned is we got them fired up in August. We've now had this break for a lot of them till January. They're chomping at the bit to have someone give them this information from what we're seeing, and they're jumping in. So I think from that standpoint, we're going to be okay. Now, in your conversations with the planning meeting conversation, some of your multiples may say, we don't need a fire up meeting. We'll get our people there without it. Others may say they absolutely have to have it because their people need somebody to say, hey, this is going to be awesome, and why they should put their time into it. And it's really going to have to be playing it out one by one. If they choose not to do a fire up meeting, we do have the Constitutional Area 1 wide session that we recorded and we put up on the YouTube channel that you can share with them, and they can make a determination from there if they want to do a fire up meeting or not.
Okay, so the planning meeting is first, and then the fire up meeting is followed, and then we jump into the 3 trainings.
Right. So the planning meeting is for planning with the multiple district team, GAT team, basically what's going to happen, getting insight from them and input from them. The fire up meeting is for the potential attendees of the sessions themselves.
Okay, so
that's target audience.
In my case, then the list that Brian sent me, then I organize a meeting, a planning meeting, and really start to get to know them. There's really is there a curriculum for the planning meeting itself?
The agenda, there's this agenda.
Okay.
So the
Okay,
agenda.
and in my situation, because they've all been through it before, try to get a sense of where they're at. For someone that hasn't had it, they have to figure out who's in charge, who's going to take the lead in that, and then whether they want to have a more official fire up meeting. That's basically, is another way to put it. Is this fair? It's sort of a promotional meeting to say, look, this is an opportunity. It's like a little like speed learning where you go, it's a little taste, what you're going to get, and then sign up for the 3 dates that we have, right? Is that
correct?
What it is? Okay, so in my case, because a lot have been through it, then we say, okay, who wants to go through it again, and who wants to be new to that? Fire them up to go get additional people so that they're trained on the second go around. Do I have it right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm writing a note to get you the recording because we don't currently have the link to that recording on that agenda or dropped into anything on the planning meeting. And I will add that to that agenda. I think it's a great idea.
And just a side note, so add to the timing. So we need to have that planning meeting and the kickoff fire meeting within the next 2 weeks. Is that correct?
Correct.
Realistic.
The other people you're going to invite to this too are the area leaders as well, because they're the ones controlling a lot of the stuff. And just a suggestion from Pat, that is someone that you can work with the area leaders to make that introduction or anything else, because they're the ones who are going to see this from beginning to end all the way through and do the driving and doing the pushing. And in fact, some of those area leaders for their area might be that contact to get all the people coming up. But they will also know who in that multiple are going to be the ones that will control to get people coming to these sessions.
They've been doing a great job as far as promoting it at their GAT meetings, their area meetings, and they're going through area meetings this week, as a matter of fact. So they received, at the same time you received, the updated numbers, and we've been back and forth with them, answering questions, getting them what they need. And now they'll keep pushing, but the next level of pushing will be the multiple district people going back out and pushing further with their district people.
So the flyers here, like Minnesota and Wisconsin's in 1C, and I'm not sure where Pennsylvania is, but have these flyers that you have in the resource folder, do they have them already?
Yes, they've had them since October.
Okay, so then we just need to go over that again. So like an email to organize a planning meeting, I could send out this flyer again as a resource for them to promote it.
Correct.
Okay, you
And
got
it should not be new news to any of these people because they're the primary contacts to get. Area leaders and vice area leaders have been talking to about this since October-ish, when we hit the ground running mid-October with this.
So when did the first 7 go through the training? You said California's been through it.
November was last November, a year ago in November, we did a face-to-face in Texas. Last spring, we did a version of this, a 4-session version of this workshop. March and April of 24 in California. California just did their own that's just wrapped up. Is that correct, Liz and Norm? Yeah, they just wrapped up doing the same session I did with them last year. They used the old curriculum and did it again for just wrapped that up just now. And then the other 5M, Wisconsin, Kentucky, New York, and Pennsylvania were September, October. We just finished up in October 23rd, I think was the last date of training.
Okay, so who did the training on that one?
That would be, you're talking to her right now.
Oh, you did the training on it. Okay.
And that's why it's beneficial for them to come back and do it again. They've been out, they've tried some things, and they'll be very good in being able to come back and sharing what's working, what's not working, all of that as well.
Did we cover all Mark's questions? I don't know that we helped the fact that this is such a compressed timeline.
No, I think it's reasonable, understanding the context of what these two meetings are. I mean, really, it's getting your team together. I mean, it's building a team, building a vision, build a plan, build success, right? And
Exactly.
so we just have to get people fired up, and I think coming back at the first of the year, people be it's a good time to jump in. I get it. So
Well, and one of the
We're
big things
getting-
is in the importance of this, I believe, is, sorry, Brian, but I think part of the importance of this timing is usually about February, new club development just drops off the face of the earth. There's just nothing. People just stop worrying about it. They start transitioning next year already. They don't care. So we're hoping this is going to get us over that hump as well. We'll get a bunch of fired up people out there hitting the ground and getting clubs started in these next few months. So
And we did push very hard to make sure that every single district in CA1 would be trained this year on how to get started. Because again, we don't know how to do it. People absolutely don't know how to do it. The objective of this is to get them out of their seats, get them out of their houses, get out there and try something, being successful or not successful. But we got to get up to our first level. Let's get to 200 clubs. Next level, if we got everybody fired up, and the people have gone to these meetings, they've been fired up. Kentucky is an example. They went out, they don't start clubs up, and they went out and got 5. Same thing with 5M. They got excited about it, and away they go. So we did cram this very quickly, and we appreciate each and every one of you is to motivate them, get them excited, get them talking about it so they do it.
So I guess part of the equation that I need to consider, but I think also for those that have this the first time that they're coming in, is do we have it built in, this reflection? Because that is the key to GMA.
yes.
That it's an ongoing, it's not a one and done. It's a process that you do over and you get the flywheel spinning. So is there, like in my case, all 3 multiples have been through this training recently. They've started the ball rolling, like Brian said, what's working, what's not working. Is that built into the curriculum?
Yes, every Friday I will send out to each registrant the slides, copy of the slides, the link to the recording, the links from that session, and the evaluation. I think there was something else on the list, but that goes out every Friday to every attendee. So we will get feedback that will allow us then to continue growing. And that's part of the whole message along the whole thing. And you'll see it in the curriculum when that gets to you. This is not a one and done. This is about getting every Lion on board with creating a culture of growth. Everyone looking to bring new people in, everyone looking for new opportunities to start clubs, everyone understanding what it means to do those things. And so this is step 1 in building that culture is what we're hoping.
Mm-hmm.
And
Makes
Diane, great question about the GAT, sorry, just a second, GAT area leader and vice area leader contact information. We will add that for you to the list of contacts that Brian is sending out for you tomorrow. Yes, and Tracy, great point. And it's on the letter, but the first vice district governors, it's really, there's two key things with the vice district governor team. Number one, we're asking the second vice district governors, if possible, to be drivers of this process from their district level. They will be the overseer of their district growth teams. And here's why. The second vice district governors in most districts aren't doing a whole heck of a lot right now. They're just kind of waiting for someone to tell them what to do. So we've seen success with asking and suggesting that the districts put them in charge of this growth team at the district level. Second of all, the first vice district governors are being challenged by VPAP. That's so much fun to say. VPAP, and they're going to get pushed hard on starting new clubs. They have to have their GAT teams in by the end of January for next year with names and contacts and the whole thing. They then, when they go to the summits, the fire ups, whatever, Tracy, whatever we're calling them, I'm sorry, I can't remember which term we're using any days anymore, but there'll be another round of summits this late spring, and that's when they'll be putting their action plans together. So having their GAT teams for next year go through this to understand what it takes to start clubs, what it takes to grow membership is key. So getting the first vice district governors to invite and push their GAT teams to join us at these sessions is really important. And I believe that's on the agenda as well. Yeah, emphasis on 20. Yeah, it's on the agenda for you as well. So great point. Are people feeling better? There was a lot of maybe, are you feeling a little better? I know you need some time with this. I'm not trying to push you, but is there anything else we can answer right now?
Ryan, Jody,
Yes.
great job. So, two things. First of all, the email that I received about Area G registrants went to Lori Horton and Farhana Ahmed.
Uh-huh.
Is that the area?
Lori is, yep. Lori Horton is the GAT area leader, and Farhana is the vice area leader.
Okay.
So they are there, but we'll get them on a contact sheet for you so you don't have to dig them out of an email.
I'll send you all a spreadsheet tomorrow sometime.
Yeah. And I'm kind of looking at this whole thing, it's almost like the district governor-elect seminar.
Mm-hmm.
And we are just putting together what you've already done. And now we're the facilitators to get everybody on the same page, speaking the same language about club and membership growth. So I think this is really great.
And one other comment too, Jenny, is with the area leaders, and when we met the area leaders, they wanted to be able to make sure that this is interactive as well, because they learn from each other, and they don't want to just sit there and get lectured to. They want to be able to have that interaction. We were thinking about doing a session in between the two sessions, but people are zoomed out, they're tired of it. So we're going to extend these sessions a little bit and just make sure we have some interaction with the people, because that's why they come back again, because yeah, it was worth it. I didn't just sit there and listen. I'm sorry.
But there is a lot of listening, unfortunately. I mean, it's just the reality, because when you have that many people on a call, there's a lot of listening. So that's why the people that aren't facilitating each session, it's so important that you keep active in the chat, asking questions, reiterating what's being said by the facilitators, and all of that, because that's the main interaction, other than at certain points where we take all questions through the chat as well, because I don't know if you guys have ever been on a call with a lion that says he comes on for a question and 20 minutes later they still haven't answered their question because they're still talking about what they did in 1998. So we just don't have time for that.
I do have one more question. The letter that you found somewhere in the Google Drive, I can't find it. Can you please take me through that link?
Jenny, I will do that one off. at the end of this, or we can get on a call tomorrow.
Okay.
Or later, just because we got a lot there. I think there's going to be more questions, and at the end of this, we can walk through all of that and go through that facilitator folder with anyone that wants to stay on at the end, if that works for you.
Okay, yep, I was able to find everything else you talked about and mentioned, but I didn't see that letter. So
It is it's under the facilitator planning meeting. Here, I'll just show you the screen again because I was going there anyways. Next, let's hope I showed the right screen. Hey, look at it, I picked the right screen right away. So that is called Fire Up Session District Leader Invite. It is towards the bottom of, well, it's under the facilitator planning meeting folder. It's actually a Word file, if that helps.
okay.
We'll go through it again, Jenny. We'll go back through it again at the end. Just remind me not to hang up before we talk about that.
I gotcha. I found it.
Awesome.
Yep. Thank you.
Cool. Are we ready to move on and come at the end and we'll ask more questions? I don't want to move on if there's something we can do to help clarify, because if you have a question, you aren't the only human on this call that has a question. So
Jesse, so you mentioned like if you're not the one facilitating, but if I'm reading the document right, each group, each facilitator there's only one facilitator, and it looks like the tech people are covering multiple groups that are meeting on the same day.
So there's only one tech person assigned to, there's one tech person assigned to each one of your teams, your facilitating teams. So we've split you up based on the days, so we aren't overlapping each other. So we should be good. Is there a specific one, Jesse, you saw that you were worried about?
Because I'm in the Wednesday group, and it's like, it says that I'm 15 and 37. There's a couple that people listed, but they're different multiples.
So you that is your facilitating team. Let's take a step back for a moment, and Wendy, we'll get to you in a second. So let's take a step back for a moment. We heard very clearly from our GAT area leaders that they would like us to realign how we were arranging this to train by GAT areas. So we are set this workshop that we're rolling out, this series that's rolling out in January, February, is designed to train a full GAT area at the same time. So there will be one call on Wednesday night with GAT Area G that every human from GAT Area G is invited to. And the 5 of you that are assigned to facilitate in GAT Area G will be training all of the multiple districts as a team. Does that help?
Yes, I was thinking that we were on individual calls with those assigned multiple. So I see what you're saying. Okay.
We also wanted to make, because we know this timeline is so tight and the curriculum is getting to you so late, we also wanted to make this as easy on all of you as possible so that you don't have 8 hours worth of stuff to memorize or get familiar with all in such a short time frame. So that was part of our consideration with this as well and putting the teams together. Wendy Kane, happy holidays.
So that's actually a good segue into the question that I had. When I observed the sessions this fall, we kicked off each of the second and the third session with each of the districts reporting out on their progress since the last meeting. And with the change that combined and we have so many multiples now briefing together, we could lose the whole 2 hours trying to hear from everybody. But yet we talked about the importance of having that engagement. Is that something that we should in the planning session kind of tee up, that the multiple district coordinator would need to do that to be able to gather and share between sessions, or practically how do we balance being able to have that engagement and individual feedback with the volume of people?
Great question, Wendy. So what Wendy's referring to is at the beginning of sessions 2 and sessions 3, we had a short report out on homework. What did they send in? What did the district growth teams send in? What have they done since the last meeting to meet the assignment that was in place? So what we learned, and we learned this with California because California has a lot of districts, and we learned it with some of the other multiples we were working with so many districts, is we started cherry picking and only taking 4 to 5, maybe 6 report outs from each of them. And to do that, what we'll do is work to coordinate with the multiple district GAT teams. What's your best story? What's the best one you heard, or the best example you think of the ones that were submitted? And then you rotate them around with the different sessions. So, for example, and I don't know everyone's multiples, I know I'm in Wisconsin. So, we're not going to give multiple district E1 a report out at every session. We may move that over to 5M10 because I know there's a 5M10. Look at me learning. Anyway, so we will pick and choose to be able to share the best stories and also try to spread the wealth on who's reporting out. Great question. Stephanie, the question about doing them in breakout rooms is there's just not time. And what we found also is there's a lot of repetition over what a lot of them are saying. So if we can find representative pieces, because if you think about what the goal of that portion of the workshop is to inspire others to learn and hear how maybe they're finding a new specialty club or what they're doing to start that club or what they've run into or whatever it might be. So it's really not about hearing every voice. It's about getting some representation that's going to inspire others. And then at the multiple district level, we could certainly encourage them to share those stories as part of their GAP meetings. Every multiple district should be having a multiple district GAP meeting with either as a whole or just their GMTs or GETs or however they break it out. So we can encourage them to share that out a more thorough story with all of them if that's appropriate. Are we good? Because this has all been great. These are great.
Jody,
Great to fill things out.
so let me see if I got this right. So the planning and fire meetings, we're responsible for our own MDs within our group. So like I'm with Wendy and Hyatt. For our training, the 3 training dates, but we're each responsible for the planning and fire meetings to our respective multiples, correct?
Not exactly. You're
Okay.
you're each responsible for a planning meeting with your respective multiples or single districts that you've been assigned. I recommend that you set up with your facilitating team one fire up meeting for everybody if that's going to work for those multiples, just because of the time constraints.
Okay.
And then you offer that fire up meeting to all the multiples that you in that GAT area, basically.
Okay.
Does
So
that
then-
make sense?
Yeah, and then the trainings, we're responsible for the sharing the training, the 3 dates.
Correct.
Okay, and then like for me, we talked on the phone where I have the one conflict, then we just have to work that out.
Correct. So I
Okay.
do know, and that's a really great point, Mark, because I know that tonight, for example, Holly isn't here with us, Holly Rutherford Allen, because she's on a flight back. Mark's going to have a conflict on some night. Some of you others may have a conflict on a night that you can't actually train. In that case, especially when you have more than 2 facilitators, you for sure can change it up. That's when you're going to decide who's facilitating when, what you're presenting, and what the topic is and how to make that work. Keep in mind that Brian and I or Tracy is going to be on every one of these calls with you as well. We're all very familiar with the curriculum and are also there to back you up. If on one of the teams that's only got 2 facilitators, if you need to have one of us step in and help, we are there to support you as well. So as you're working through figuring out who's facilitating when and where and what your own schedules look like, we are there to back you up and again, our job is to make you as successful as you can be. So whatever you need from us, let us know.
Okay, so the curriculum for the 3 trainings, that's what you're going to give us by Monday night?
Correct.
Okay. So then we need to actually probably have another meeting amongst ourselves to be able to sort through that, correct?
Well, correct. You can start to sort through it by the topics that are on that sessions sheet, the sessions overview. Because they're like, for example, maybe you're someone that really is excited about asset-based community development. Hyatt, Chris Wooters, people who've been down that path, So that's something that just that's something that would be a good spot for you to slide into because it's something you can provide personal examples to. Does that help?
Yep.
Cool. Other questions, comments, or concerns?
So are we gonna have time tonight to talk amongst
Yeah.
ourselves?
That's the goal.
Okay.
I'm going to drop you into, we're going to test my memory because I don't have the slide. I'll have a slide to be able to remember which one's going to which rooms or which areas. So we'll see how that works. How about we go on to the fire up meeting and then we can continue answering questions as we go along. And thank you again for helping us. You know, this is a process where, you know, if you've been involved in DGE school, we have an entire staff at Lions Clubs International that takes care of all of this stuff. You guys have Brian, Jody, and Tracy, and we talk things through, we flesh them out as best we can, but your brains are really important for us to make sure we've got the right content and everything going there. Which I should have started this whole thing out with saying, if you find anything, and I think it was in the email last Friday, if you see a glaring error, something that's missing, please do not hesitate to reach out. We take pride, everyone takes pride in their work and what we do, but the reality is we all make mistakes and we all miss things. And with your eyes on it as fresh humans, not having seen this, is invaluable to us to making sure that this is the best training we can put out there come January and February. So as you're planning and you're working through it, if you find errors, if you have suggestions, email them to me, and because I'm the coordinator of that portion of this, and I will take care of what we need to take care of, and we'll go back and forth and make sure I understand what you're talking about, and we can make a decision on how we move forward with it. So it's vital that we hear back from all of you as well. And even after each session, I'm going to send you the evaluation, or you can just send me a note that says, hey, loved this, hated it, whatever it is, so that we can keep building out and making this stronger. All right, let's go on to the next, looking at just quickly the fire up session. So we're back in the session materials folder and the facilitator fire up session. This is how you're going to start to see these curriculum sessions, because there's files to drop in the chat, which your tech person will take care of. But when you go in here, it is, again, all the pieces. There's the virtual backgrounds, the fire up PowerPoint slides, the growth work. This is the full slides for that you'll be sharing out. This is for each of the areas, all of that. So that's for files to drop in the chat. Then you'll also see that we've provided for you, the slides are provided in a number of formats. Sometimes PowerPoint eats up everyone's CPU. So you can't present it, share via PowerPoint. So you can share it via PNG or JPEG. That's mostly for Brian, Tracy, and I to deal with, but you then also have all the slides as graphics that if someone asks you for a specific slide that they want, that they didn't catch, you can send it to them as a graphic. This I'm not going to open because it already thinks it's in, well, let me see if I can, this is actually the Fire Up PowerPoint. I do not recommend you open it in Google Slides, because Google Slides is, oh shoot, I'm on a computer that doesn't have PowerPoint on it. Sorry, we're just moving into our new apartment. I don't have any, we're in like sketchy setup mode. I only have 2 monitors plus a laptop to work off of right now, guys, and it's an old computer, so it's not working well. So anyways, I'm not going to open that for you, but you can open that up. I suggest you open it in PowerPoint. When you open it up in Google Sheets or Google Slides, excuse me, it scrambles some of the graphics, some of the words, it changes the font sizes, so it's hard to read. So you can, if you open it up in PowerPoint, it'll be a lot cleaner version of it. You will want to download the PowerPoints to your own computer that you're presenting from, because otherwise, you're going to be relying on an internet connection for both signing into Zoom and for accessing those slides, and it's not likely to be successful. So that's what's there for your fire up meeting. The slides themselves go through and walk through everything you need to do. Well, here I can show you what they walk through, the script is there, the whole agenda is there, the whole piece, just like you get when you do any sort of facilitating for LCI, everything's there. The tone in the presentation is slightly different than what you are used to from an LCI presentation or an LCI training deck. And the reason is this. First of all, we're not LCI, so we can be a little bit more oh, what do we say? A little
Freewheeling.
freewheeling. I love that, Brian. We can be a little more freewheeling and actually speak real English and real language to people that they're gonna appreciate. Again, if you're not comfortable, go ahead and adapt the script to what you're comfortable with, but make sure you keep the content consistent and keep the content there. Any questions on the fire up materials? Before I get those questions, actually, let me let you know, this is the same spot you're going to see folders for session 1, session 2, and session 3, and they will be formatted in this exact same format. Files are dropped in the chat, slides is PNGs and JPEGs, and then the PowerPoint on the outside of it. So it's all consistent with every one of them you go into. Unlike those of you who facilitated for LCI before, unlike LCI, we aren't giving you a separate facilitators PDF that has, it's not a script, it's what you should say that you have to rewrite into a script or make into a script. It's truly a script inside of the PowerPoint. And I can stop sharing this and I can show you if you want to see it. If you haven't looked at, open it up, you should be able to open up the file and take a look at it. So any questions on this, the facilitator fire up pieces? Is it still clear as mud? Are we getting a little bit, do we have enough chlorine in the pool that it's just murky now and it's not, you can't, you know?
It's not all pee in the pool, yes.
It's not hurting the eyes yet.
That's a good sign. Are there questions that are now very obvious that we need to follow back around on, or anything that you want to reiterate, go through? Any other questions on what we've looked at so far? Well, we've either dazzled them, Brian, or we've confused them so much that they're afraid to ask any more questions.
They're
Well,
all
we'll keep,
thinking.
yeah, or they're thinking a lot. We're going to keep going through it. And as you keep, again, we'll answer the questions as they come along. So you guys can unmute and ask away. So this is the slide where this is really the assignments. This is the dates of the workshops, the series. The GAT area is broken out, which multiples or single districts you're each covering. And Hayat, we had an error on yours, and we had not added I missed adding Iowa on the list, multiple district 9. So I'll talk to you about this either tomorrow or at the end of this call, whatever works for you. But anyways, what you'll see here is which GAT area you're working with, your multiple district or single districts, how many total multiples and single districts or districts are in that area, and then goes on from there. Who your tech team person is / facilitator / mentor, i.e. either Brian or Jody, and Tracy to fill in as needed. The multiple districts who have gone through this workshop are Gary, you have Texas, which is multiple district 2. Mark Manzel, you have 5M, which is Minnesota, parts of Manitoba, and parts of Ontario. 14 and 27. 14 is Pennsylvania and 27 is Wisconsin. And then Kentucky is with 43. Where's 43? Oh, here we go. Norm, you have 43, which is Kentucky. And as Brian mentioned earlier, they are incredibly fired up and are doing a just amazing job of starting clubs down there and getting their people fired up. Where is MD20 in this list? Why can't I? It's in GF, I think, actually. Who's got 20? Why can't I read 20? Did we miss 20 on the list?
I hope not.
I thought I looked them all over and we had them.
So we've all reviewed this at X number of times. So I'll figure out where 20 went and we'll figure out who gets to hang out with 20. But I think it's in GAT area F, which
Yes,
is
there.
all right. Diane, how would you like to be the lucky winner of multiple district 20, New York?
Oh, that's a good district because Winston's there.
Yep.
And they did a good job coming around the first time. So they know what they need to do.
Yeah. Diane, I'll reach out to you about that offline as well. So this is your teams. These are the humans you will be facilitating with across these 3 sessions. As I said, some of you are just a duo, some of you are 3, some of you are 5. You will work out and determine how it is you're going to work together and what you're going to be doing and who's going to train what and when and all of that. Questions on this, aside from the fact that we apparently can't count to 51, 60.
Jody,
And
Yes.
Jody,
Diane, I'm gonna send an email, Diane, to 20 tomorrow, introducing you as well, just so you have the information.
and Jody, I'm not sure that Wendy's last name is not spelled correct. I don't think there's an E on there, is there?
No, there isn't. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you, Mark. I just sent a note to Jody. Not a big deal,
Okay.
but future reference.
My first name also doesn't have it. This is Jesse. My first name doesn't have an E on it, but not a huge deal.
Well, I'm going to fix,
Extra
here's the
E's
deal.
everywhere.
I like E's apparently because my last name doesn't have any I's in it and people always put it in there. So if you find typos, which I guarantee you when you see the script, you're going to, please let me know so I can fix it because we do want to be we want everything to be spelled right, especially names of the humans that are doing all this work. So thank you. Awesome.
Jody, I have a
Jody?
question.
Jody, thank you for all that. This is an amazing amount of work. I don't know, you don't sleep, do you?
Sometimes.
It's awesome.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Hillary, did you have a question?
I do. We're Bruce Beck and I are with Dimple Willibus, and I know she's a New Yorker. Did she attend? She's not here with us tonight, so I guess we'll have to update her. But unless did she attend the New York sessions? Is my question.
I believe she was at some of them. The challenge, so we had a lot of learning opportunities in September, October on this whole thing, and the multiple districts had their own registration systems. So I did not send out, I don't have any of the contact information as far as who attended, who the registrants were for the actual sessions themselves. We had, I think there was, I want to say there was upwards of 200 people that were registered for the sessions in New York. So and I think she was at some of them, but it's kind of all a blur right now.
Okay,
And we'll give her this recording too.
Yeah,
be huge. Thank you.
great question. Any other questions on the teams and what you're doing as teams? If not, I'm going to go in and we're coming to the last of what I'm going to share with you, and then we are going to work send you into your groups. And I think this slide will help clarify a few things because I tried to put some timelines in place. And I know I missed one piece that I already thought of, but let's start with this. So here's your to-do timelines that we came up with. So number 1, schedule that planning meeting with your assigned multiple district or single district GAT teams. That is an individual assignment for each one of you to work with those local teams, those local multiple district, single district GAT teams to go over that planning agenda, understand what their needs are and work from there. Additionally, before you actually host those planning meetings, make sure you as a facilitator team has finalized your fire up meeting plan, i.e. what the date and time is going to be of that meeting, making sure that you can then share it out during the planning meeting with your multiple districts. You'll then conduct your planning meetings and then begin prepare for planning and oh my God, that sentence is horrible, or that phrase is horrible. You're going to begin to prepare for those planning and fire up meetings at that point. You've already done the fire up meeting, so sorry, or the planning meeting, but you're going to begin preparing for that fire up meeting. Make sure you're familiar with the content you're presenting. Make sure that you're ready to do whatever needs to be done. Those fire up meetings and those planning meetings, you will be running your own tech unless you ask for help. I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to slow it down even. You will be running your own tech, using your own Zoom license as well, unless you ask for help. Between Brian, Tracy, and I, we are happy to be there for you and help you with whatever we can. But again, you're on your own unless you ask for that help. So that's the as soon as possible piece of it. December 9th, which is actually this coming Monday, through January 6th, which I think is, I don't know what day that, it must be a Saturday. You'll be conducting your fire up meetings. You're going to prepare to facilitate the curriculum that you've been assigned to or chosen. And then you'll continue to work with your multiple district GAC contact people. I will tell you that again, I'm going to say this again, in the multiples we've worked with so far, that has been the heaviest workload as the facilitator mentor, is helping support them, especially on this front end when they get frustrated when people aren't registering, helping them push through that and look for the positives. So that will be ongoing throughout this month of December and into early January. And then January 6th through February 13th, and I actually think it's January 8th, but anyways, that first Monday in January, we start conducting the workshop sessions, provide the feedback, and then you'll be providing feedback to Brian and I and Tracy. And right now we have nothing set up officially. Would you all like to have an official evaluation form that you can just go through a Google form to fill out, like similar to what we're using for the attendees? Or would you just like to send follow-up emails afterwards about what went well and what didn't? You can drop it in the chat of just say evaluation or email, and I'll pull the chat afterwards.
Jody, so this is just after, or this is for the training, or?
This is for the training, looking
Okay.
for feedback from all of you as you actually go through and facilitate. If you think spots are rocky, if you think people really kind of fell asleep part of it, we need to readdress something or suggestions or whatever.
I think the thing, by doing chat, you could capture any fresh perspectives, but some people like to have some processing time. So having a link or some way that they could put in their input later.
Mark, they're getting this is for you guys as facilitators. We want your feedback as well. So we have a Google form that they'll be filling out for the evaluations for attendees.
Okay,
My
I
question,
misunderstood.
that's okay. I could have slurred through it. It's been a long week. But anyways, I'm specifically curious how you guys would like to provide feedback, because again, your feedback is vital to us keeping this program in place, making sure we get it up to date and keep it fresh and what the needs are. So if you could either drop into the chat if you'd like to have a evaluation form, which we'll send you, so put evaluation in the chat, or if you would prefer just to send email feedback after each session to Brian and Tracy and I, that would be awesome. And we'll see what the responses were, and we'll come up with the solution and let you know what that is. So again, this is how would you as facilitators like to share your feedback with us?
As far as feedback, are you talking about regarding the information that's going through that we're disseminating, or are we talking about also feedback as regards to like the different multiple districts and stuff like that?
So Chris, I think it's a great question. It's feedback from you as to what you're presenting, the training, the facilitating, the content, the curriculum, but it's also, it seemed like there was a lot of questions regarding asset-based community development that we need to spend more time on that. Those types of things that you're seeing, because you'll be the facilitators facilitating, but the rest of the team that's working in the chat can actually get a better feel for how it's going and what might need to be adjusted.
Is there any way that we can have a separate form that's more so related to what they are looking for in the different multiples? That way we can, like the next time we do this, like they can know ahead of time that the facilitator needs to maybe go a little bit deeper into one subject versus the other?
I don't know that a multiple base we can look at that. Why don't Brian, let's chat about that, Brian, as to whether we should go down to the multiple level as far as notes or not, for future use. Because the team
had the multiple districts that all, let's say like 2 or 3 of them are all looking at asset mapping, and they really want to go down that path. Maybe the next time we actually put certain multiple districts together that are looking more towards asset mapping and getting them focused on the same thing.
Okay. I think we can talk, Brian, let's talk about that and see where we go with that. And take a look at it. Because part of the challenge is everyone changes all the time too. So let's.
And we can take a look at Hillary's suggestion there too. Maybe a little debrief session for not a long one, but just hey, you know, what are the viewpoints, how we can tighten things up or where our problems were too.
So perhaps should we look at a Sunday evening debrief in between each of these each week?
And because then if people are just confused or not knowing what to do or what the problem was, that will help us out a little bit possibly.
And then if you can't make it, you can shoot us a note and we can add it to the comments. Does that sound reasonable? And here's the deal. I'm not going to put you on the spot right now. What I'll do is I'll send I've got a follow-up email I'm going to send you all as well. You're going to get from Brian, you're going to get the contacts of both the GAT area and vice area leaders and all of the GAT contacts in the multiple districts. From me, you're going to get an email that has all the other things we've talked about, and I'll add into it how you'd like to do how you'd like to debrief. How would you like to provide your feedback? And we will come up with a plan, and we'll share it out with you as soon as we can, if that works for everyone. And since I can't see any of you, and I also can't see the chat, I'm just going to assume everyone's nodding right now, and we'll go from there.
I'm
So,
okay with it.
Cool.
This was Norm.
I'll
All
do
right,
whatever
so
you tell me. This is Tracy.
that's why I love you, Tracy. With help and insight, always, but yes. All right, so before we break you into teams, and I've got an overview of what we hope you can get, what we believe you need to kind of talk through either tonight or soonish. Is there anything else you want to discuss before I send you into breakout rooms? Because I'll bring you back again and we can chat more if you want, but for now, if there's nothing else, let me share with you a slide that I think is going to clarify a few things. All right. Here are the items as I was looking through and thinking through what I believe you need to be focused on in for some team planning, either now, this evening, or moving forward. Number one, that GAT area fire up meeting. So again, you're responsible for your own Zoom. So if you're going to do it, I've got two options here. If you're going to do it all together, which is what we recommend based on the timing, that you as a team come up with a date and a time, assign who's got a Zoom license that's going to be large enough. Now that's another piece of this. If you do not have a Zoom license large enough to handle the potential number of people in your GAT area, please let us know. Either Brian or I have access to those, or your GAT area leaders have access as well, or have their own accounts, and they might be willing to set it up for you. And that might be a good way for you to begin working with your GAT area leaders and the GAT vice area leaders. And then also, if you're doing it all together, who's going to present which part of the curriculum? That curriculum is available to you right now in that facilitator folder under sessions, I believe it is. If one of the multiple districts or single districts, or if you choose to go all out and do a single district, multiple district thing on your own, you'll need to work with that multiple district to determine the date and time of that planning meeting, or determine the date and time of the fire up meeting during the planning meeting. Let me say that again in a much clearer way, I hope. So if you're not going to do a fire up meeting as a GAT area with your facilitating team working together, you will need to have a conversation during your planning meeting with that single district or multiple district to determine what date and time you're going to do the fire up meeting. Hopefully that made sense. Is there questions in the chat or open? Did that make sense? I always assume silence means, God, you're brilliant, Jody. Just keep talking. All right, so here we go.
I put a question in the chat because so we're doing the planning meetings just with our specific, if we do not have a Zoom license, then we can have somebody else set it up for us.
Yeah, Jesse, if you don't have a Zoom license, let's you and I talk.
Okay.
Either if it's too late tonight, we can talk. So let's set up a time and we'll chat and we'll
Okay.
we'll get you set up.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Do you think we'll need more than 100 seats for the fire up meeting?
It depends. Some of the GAT areas are quite large. We've seen fire up meetings with, it's hard to say because you guys are doing GAT areas. We were doing single multiples. So possibly,
And the
Well,
GAD
if we
area
did-
leaders would be happy to do it.
yeah.
Well, if we
I would-
did it as of course, we do it with registration. We should know the registration. If it gets close to 100, then we just extend it for the 1 month.
Either that, or if you choose to do that, or I agree with Mark, our GAT area leaders all have licenses that are this large. And if you're looking to do a fire up meeting, this would be a great opportunity to team up with them and have them provide the Zoom link for you.
The
And you
thing
don't
is,
have to worry about the sessions because they're all set up already.
but we'd have to get that set up before we promote the fire up.
Correct.
They have to give it to us.
Or you could promote the fire up and then after registration, just email everybody who's registered the link.
Well, the registration comes through Zoom. So
Yeah.
let's if you let's do this. If you have a Zoom license of 100, you're probably going to be fine. Although I look at area G and there's so many multiples, but some of them are single districts.
Honestly, why don't we just say, if you can connect with your area leader, that way we know everybody's gonna have enough. And it also opens up that connection right away.
So okay, I love that idea, Tracy. So perhaps assign who sets up the Zoom changes in this scenario that we just discussed to have one of your facilitating team members take on the responsibility to reach out to the GAT area leader to set up a Zoom. You as a GAT or as a facilitating team can come up with a date and the time and then reach out to have that individual from your team reach out to the GAT area leader.
Jody,
Is
this is Norm. Just an FYI, I've got a license that'll handle over 100. So for myself and Rob, we're covered.
Okay. If you're not comfortable with that, why don't you reach out or drop a private message to me in the chat, and we'll work through things one off on how best to support you to get you through it. And I'll be downloading the chat from this after we get done with the session. So I'll reach out to you then tomorrow or Thursday to get everything covered and get to work out whatever the plan will be. All right, so let's talk about the other piece that you need to worry about. And this one is a little bit longer timeline. And this is all obviously talking about the compressed timeline we're living within right now to roll these out. But the GAT area fire up meeting timing is key to get done as soon as possible. The workshop facilitating plan can take a little bit longer. As I mentioned before, I'm going to have the curriculum to you by the end of day on Monday. But you're going to need to work as a team to decide who's going to facilitate which portions and at each session, and then who's going to monitor the chat. And then a reminder that your tech mentor is going to handle screen sharing, file sharing, breakout rooms, all of that. Just so you understand, and this may come up in your conversation during planning meetings, when we created the registration for these sessions, they had to say which multiple district and district they were from. We will be using that to set up the breakout rooms. For those of you who are techie, you know what I mean. For those of you who aren't techie, that means it should not take hours to put people into each breakout room. So it should go relatively smoothly. if people come in under the same name, which we saw happen, we had 5 Barry Scotts in a couple of meetings, it gets a little confusing, but I'll get through it. So the workshop, your facilitating team needs to come up with your plan for how you're going to facilitate the overall workshop series in the next couple of weeks, I would say. And whatever that means to you as a team, you can determine from here. Some of the teams are not complete here tonight. I know Holly isn't here and because she's on that flight, and Dimple's not here. I haven't checked who else isn't here at this point, but we're going to put you in a breakout room and let you chat. I'm sorry, Brian, was that it?
That was it.
Cool.
One question about Holly. Is there another meeting that she already said she can't do?
Yeah,
in
and
January?
I think I can probably dig that out of my email and share that with you guys in area G.
Okay.
Is it January 21st, one of the dates that you guys have?
22nd?
That might be it. I'll double check my email or my text to see which one it is.
Okay. We'll
Okay.
assign that to her.
Perfect. It's like you don't show up at a club meeting and all of a sudden you're club president next year. Same concept. We can bring you back. Justin, great question. A retired older gentleman in your group that may need a nap. You know what? He is getting kind of old, isn't he? Here's the deal. You guys can come back here. I'll put you in the breakout rooms for 15 minutes. And then if you want to hang out longer than that, after that, we'll be here to answer more questions. And you can at least come up with a plan from where you go from here. How's that? All right, speaking of those old guys, let's put them in a room first. I did not pre-set up breakout rooms because I didn't. So I'm going to go set those up right now. Assign manually. I need 8 breakout rooms because we have 8 areas. And in room 1, I'm going to assign my friends just Jay Faber. Oh, he's getting fancy. He shaves off his mustache and now he's Jay Faber. And Gary Anderson.
It's like A. Lincoln.
There you go.
Or Amish. Do you trade in your Cadillac for a horse and buggy?
Yep. Horseless carriage.
Room 2 is going to be area B, which is Liz and Richard, as I recall. So you guys are going to area B, room 2 in a minute. Okay, area C is, and I'm putting C and D together in the same room because you will be working together as one because we've combined the 2 of those. So area C, oh God, this is where it gets ugly. Remind me who's doing area C?
It's gonna be Wendy, Mark, and Hyatt.
Thank you.
C and D.
All right, and who's in C and D? That was all of them? All right.
Yep.
Room
And
4 is going to
Norman
E.
Rob will be E.
Thank you. All right, F.
Glenn, Diane, and Chris.
Awesome. G is
This is the biggie. Debbie, Manzel, Stephanie. Holly's not here.
Jenny and Jesse.
And Jenny.
And our last but not least,
It's gonna be
super
Hillary on
excited.
his own.
Oh, Hillary, you can come hang out with us
Bruce
then.
had to leave. Yep.
Okay.
Owner.
Hillary, you can hang out with us here and we'll or you can just ditch us and go from here. But let me put you in there for 15 minutes.
Sure. Stick me in a room.
You want to go in a room, Hillary?
Sure. There must be a light room somewhere.
Norm will take them.
I was gonna say, you can come hang out with G. You would be a great addition.
All right,
Put him
so
anywhere, Jody.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop.
Or
I'm
F. I might have some inside information on the F crew.
F. You're going to F then. That's Chris, Diane, Glenn, and now we're going to add in our friend Hillary. So Hillary, I'm going to add you in a second after I get everyone in there. So I'm going to, because for some reason it's not letting me add people. Interesting. All right, I'm going to send you all off. We'll see you back in 15 minutes. If you need to leave, go ahead and leave. Thank you. If you do need to leave, thank you guys so much. This is a long session, I know, but there's just so much stuff, and I appreciate all of your insight and input. So Hillary, you're going off in a second, but you get to hang out for a minute. So opening all the rooms, see you in a bit.
Kind of helped.
Was that 15 minutes?
It was, believe it or not. You know,
Man, we were having fun.
That was
we
super
brought
fun.
we brought the best facilitators in the constitutional area together, and I bet you guys could have kept talking for another 2 or 3 hours.
Well,
We took
Wendy
a
had
nap.
a great suggestion about, and maybe you mentioned it, I missed it, but Wendy said, well, we could also use the fire up recording. If people couldn't come to the meeting,
Yes,
to put that in with the resources for the teams.
that is, we did talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to add it to the planning meeting agenda area for you, so you've got that there. I'm going to drop it in there. I'm going to fair warn you. I'm going to drop it in there as the actual video file MP4, which is a huge file. I'm also going to give it to you as the link off of the YouTube channel, so that you've got the link, or if you want to share it and don't have internet access, you can just do it directly. Yay. So you all look exhausted as I think all of us feel. Thank you. Is there anything else we can dazzle you with to keep you up till at least for another 2 hours because you're so excited?
Jody, I have a question.
Sure.
So between Richard and I, we have 3 multiples and 2 single districts. Is it up to the GAT area leaders to do their own registration for the 3 sessions? So how's that going to work?
We've already created the registrations for each GAT area. Each GAT area has one registration link. That's what's in that fire up flyer, or in that flyer,
Gotcha.
the
That's
promo
right.
flyer and the slide. And when
Mhm.
you sign up with that link, it will ask you what multiple district and what single district you're from.
Mhm.
So we will then have that data. We own that data, so to speak. We are controlling the registration so that we can send out follow-up information. We can continue contacting them even after this. So that will be the data I'm using to do the follow-up emails every week. It's also the way we'll be setting up the breakout rooms.
Okay, so are we going to have that information in terms of who's registered from each of the MDs or Ds?
I don't know why not. We're going to be sharing
Okay.
it out with we'll be sharing it out with the, right now we are sharing it out with the GAT area leaders who are then sharing it out with the multiple districts. So that email I sent you all, or CC'd you on with the GAT areas with the latest registration numbers, I'm attaching the information, and that's the actual registration piece.
Jody, just a question. I think you're talking about the training, the actual 3 training events in terms of registration. Am I right? Not about the first 2 meetings, the planning meeting and the fire up meeting.
Now I'm confused.
The question was, if we're using our own Zooms, who's going to handle the registration? Neither Liz nor I know how to handle registrations on our own Zooms.
So that's where we're suggesting that you work with a GAT area leader. I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about the workshops. You're talking about the fire up meeting.
Right.
Okay. So for the fire up meeting, you'll work directly with a GAT area leader. They already have all the contacts in that GAT area that they're reaching out to on a regular basis. They can then handle registration for the meeting.
Do they, Jody, do they know how to ingest those registries for the planning sessions into Zoom? Or do we need to set up a session to show people how to do that?
Say that in Jody English. And I know you know what that means. So
usually, we would have people pre-register but for a meeting, and it would automatically register them for that link, for that Zoom. But since it's already getting registered into another list that's not actually Zoom, we will then need to pull that data into Zoom so that they can actually have that for the breakout rooms and everything.
all registration is going through Zoom. So whether it be for the fire up meeting, you don't need breakout rooms. For the fire up meeting, you'll just be going, okay.
The registration is not going through Zoom, right? Because we all have different Zooms we're using.
Right, but okay, let's take a step back. We're talking about the fire up meeting here, right? So let's make sure I'm on the same page with all of you. So we're talking about the fire up meeting and the registration for the fire up meeting. Am I right?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So for that registration, we are suggesting that you work with your GAT area leader to have them set up the link and have it be a required registration for that session. You then as facilitators will share that link out with your multiple district GAT contacts so they can be promoting that along with the GAT area leader will be able to promote it. They will control and own the registration list. If that's what Liz and Richard were asking about, they will have that list. If you need to know who's on that list, you will work with them to get the registration list directly from the GAT area leader. Whoever sets up that Zoom and the registration on that Zoom will be the one that has that data. So if you as a facilitator feel you need that information, you'll work with the GAT area leader to have them provide it to you. Does that help?
If Liz is happy, I'm happy.
Liz wasn't smiling, which made me nervous for a second there.
I don't understand the registration process because I've not done it. So, I'm semi-comfortable with it.
So let me take it a little simpler. So Liz, what's going to happen is you're going to reach out to Mark Paiva and Juanita, and you're going to say, we would like to, will you help us set up a registration for this fire up meeting for GAT area B? They will then just send you a link. You don't need to worry about which districts and multiple districts are coming from. They'll just send you a link and you'll go from there.
Okay.
And we
Does that
don't
help?
need a registration for the planning meeting.
No.
No.
Okay.
Need a link.
Yep, just a link and an invite to the people that you're going to be working with.
And did you say when the fire up meeting how late it could be held?
Our recommendation is as soon as possible, but it's whenever you can get it in and whenever it works for your team. I'm guessing most of your facilitating teams are going to do it together for a whole GAT area just because of timing. So it's you guys pick the date. You will record it. You need to record it, and then you'll share the recording back out with the GAT, the multiple district GAT people.
Well, the multiple district GAT leader will be doing the recording.
No, the area leader will be doing the
The
recording.
GAT area leader, I'm sorry, the GAT
That's
area
okay.
Share
leader
it back to
will be
him
doing
and he'll get it to the registrants.
Yep. So they'll be the ones, they should be able to send out a follow-up with a link to everybody.
Jody, I thought you said the planning meeting was first, the fire up was second.
You're correct.
Okay, because you said the first thing we should do is a fire up meeting. It's not. It's
No,
a
the first
planning-
thing you should do is set up the fire up meeting. You need to, before you get into that planning meeting, you need to know what date the fire up meeting is.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Thank you for clarifying, because at this point, I don't know what I said.
No, we're listening. We are.
I love it.
We actually looked for ours to do in January because ours, we have almost 2 weeks apart, where if we do it before Christmas and New Year's, we think people are going to forget about everything and not be there for our dates.
Yeah.
So the fire up meeting is designed to get the growth teams in place. So the people that are recruiting their growth teams know what's going on. So the fire up meeting in January is probably not going to be very helpful. And I might have misheard what you said, Chris.
No, I mean, that's so if we're trying to fire them up, getting them ready to go to like ours starts on the 14th. If by giving the 5th, that gives us 9 days for them to get the fire up to get them going from then, right? Because the planning meeting is how we're getting these teams ready and getting them on board for that. But the fire up is what.
The planning meeting is only with the multiple district people.
Correct.
The multiple district people are driving the process. They're not our target audience for the training. The
Correct.
target audience is the district people, and that's who the fire up meeting is for.
Correct. If we do that before Christmas and they have 3 weeks between that and the actual sessions, I look for them to forget it and not actually be a part of it.
I get what you're saying, but then is that too late for them to get 9 days notice that you're going to be having this training?
Because you're basically trying to get them to register for the trainings. The fire up meeting goal is to get them to understand what's coming and get them registered for the training and get them to expand the number of people that register.
But they
Shouldn't
should
the
already
training-
be registered. That's gone out on the flyers. They got the dates.
Especially
That
in
should be part of the
their
planning.
area.
Mhm.
Winster's been hammering us all with these dates, so it probably would work in F.
And Jody, we were thinking about, because they have the flyer, we'll send the flyers out again and rally the troops, but also with the video link. And we thought about having ours on the 2nd of January because of the same reason with the holidays and everything, and almost make it more of any final questions, any last minute encouragements needed. But with the video resources and the holidays and the push already, you still think that that's too late?
Brian, it makes me nervous, but Brian, what are your thoughts?
You know, and you're gonna know, but once you get that planning meeting, which is the first thing you're gonna do, you may have a feel. The biggest thing is to push those area leaders in. We got to get as many people fired up on this and signed up in the pre-registration as we can. And it's anybody who's interested in being able to help and to be able to grow. I think you'll get a feel for that on that planning meeting and have a little bit of discussion with the area leader too, and you can all make the joint decisions together.
He means the multiple district GAT leader.
Yeah, multiple district GAT leader and the area leader.
So Jody, we have the first session, Group A,
Yes.
on the 6th of January. Okay.
Yes.
We're going to have our planning meeting on the 16th of December. It's a Monday.
So you got a meeting set up with TJ already. You guys are good.
Well, we're going to have that on the 16th, but then to do the fire up meeting, it would be like the 23rd or the 30th.
Yeah. So you guys, you're all right. You're all right. Here's the deal. We don't know what we don't know. We have a tight window. They have been hitting the GAT area leaders have been hitting them. The big thing with the fire up meeting is, and quite honestly, the big push, if you're looking at it this way, is to really focus on helping them understand why they need to be there and what they're going to get out of this and how to build out their district teams. That's really what the fire up meeting is about, because the districts are looking at it like this. Well, I got a global extension team coordinator. I'm just sending them. That's not what this is about. It's about creating a growth team. And it's a whole new concept for a lot of them. So that's what the fire up meeting is for, is to explain these concepts to the district governor team and the GAT team at the district level specifically, and anyone else you can get on that call. You all are adults who are trained facilitators who've been around the block. You also know what time of the year it is, as we are all well aware, and we trust you to figure it out the best of what's going to work. You think it's going to work the best, because quite honestly, we don't know what we don't know at this point. This is all a giant experiment, and we are going to learn a lot, just like we learned a lot from the last round of them. And it's part of the fun of this whole thing, quite honestly, because it is not the same thing twice.
So do you think we're in error if we run the fire meeting 1 week after the planning meeting?
Nope.
Okay. Because I don't want to run the fire meeting in between Christmas and New Year's.
I agree.
Okay, got it. Okay, just.
And that's gonna give the people knowing what people to try and invite.
Yep, okay, got it.
Anything else? Other questions, comments, concerns? This has actually been I know I am a little weird.
It's
Okay,
good.
I'm a lot weird. I love this stuff. This is fun.
You like chaos?
Yep. Organized chaos.
It's truly just so much fun to have the opportunity to work with all of you and get your feedback and see your perspective on these things that we've been looking at for a long time. It's exciting. It's exciting to see you go out and get to hang out and watch you guys train and facilitate this. It's just so exciting.
This is a big thing for CA1.
Well, I don't know about y'all, but I have wake up call to go babysit my grandson very early tomorrow morning. And I love you all dearly and would stay on all night and party with you like rock stars, but today's not the day for that. So if if you have other questions, I can't stress this enough. Do not hesitate to reach out. If you see anything you think is you need to understand more, you have questions, you see something in the curriculum, please, please, please let us know and shoot an email and we'll set up a time to chat or we'll go back and forth, whatever we need to do. Because the ultimate goal here is to put the best product out there for our Lions. Because quite honestly, if we do this wrong this first time around, they're not coming back for our next round. They're not coming back for the next session we come up with for some other topic. So we need to make sure we're giving the best product possible. We know you are the people to present it and to facilitate it. We want to make sure the content is there and the curriculum is there as well. So thank you. Brian,
Can't
anything?
thank you guys enough. No, you can't, just absolutely can't thank you guys enough. I hope you understand that this is fun and it's making a big difference. I'll just thank you all so much.
Awesome. With
Have a good
that,
evening.
have a great night. And if I don't talk to you, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. And we'll talk to you soon.
Any questions, reach out, please.
Bye-bye.
Great
you,
job,
guys.
Jody,
Have a good
Brian.
night. Thank you.
Great job, guys.